Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself and Willem. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us as we have our Sunday night stream following our 2-0 victory yesterday over the Merseyside rivals Everton. Great game all around, I feel. A little bit slow to start, but at the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points. You don't really care if you win it pretty or win it ugly, as long as you get the win at the end of it. Before we get introductions into Willem, just want to ask everybody to make sure that you like and subscribe if you haven't already. That would be really appreciated. Also, make sure if you have done that, you have the bell notification on for any future videos and live streams. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscriptions. We're currently on 9,756 at the moment. So another 250 people to join us, and then we'll be there hopefully by the next transfer window. Willem, how are you, my friend? How did you enjoy the game on Saturday?
Yeah, good. I enjoyed it whilst enjoying the first drink of the day at the pub. And yeah, but I decided to only have the one and then stick to the game to not watch the whole thing through beer goggles. And yeah, it was an enjoyment. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a derby and we won it, so that's all I really care for in the end.
No, I agree. I'm very much the same. While I wasn't very much impressed with the first half performance, we could have been 2 or 3-0 up at that stage. We just weren't very clinical in the final third. That last pass wasn't there. Salah didn't see him himself, and then he goes and gets 2, as is the way with him. But I was very impressed with the changes in the second half. I was very impressed with the likes of Ryan Gravenberch. I think he should have been playing in the 6 rather than MacAllister, but we'll get to that point later on. But let me know, guys, as well. Myself and Willem know in the comments in the chat as well of what you guys thought of the game, who you thought was standouts, who you thought maybe underperformed a little bit, who was a surprise player for you in that game. If any comments at all on it, we welcome them. But one person that was very much full of praise for everybody on the team was Virgil van Dijk. In his interview with TNT Sport after the game, full of praise for absolutely everybody on the team. One comment that he did note, though, and that's something that we noted as well in our group chat, is that he noted about MacAllister playing in the 6 and that he feels and stated that Alexis MacAllister doesn't necessarily like playing in the 6 role. Now, Alexis MacAllister has come out and said he's fine playing in it previously, but maybe this could just be captain talk for him to try and get the owners to pull the finger out and maybe get another signing in January. It could be just maybe gearing up people to get that sort of narrative going. So like, we need a 6, let's get a 6, because if we get a 6, we're on for it. Willem, what do you make of those comments, considering MacAllister has come out previously and said that he's happy to play in that 6 role, although it's a new experience for him, and the likes of Virgil coming out and saying he doesn't like playing in that role?
I think he doesn't mind playing a 6 role in a double pivot. So I think it's more, if you look at how he used to play with Brighton and then playing next to Caicedo, he had someone next to him, aside to him, and obviously now in our system, except for when Trent kind of inverts into midfield, he is the lone 6 out there, and yeah, I could see where he struggles from it. Obviously, publicly, he's never going to say that he's going to have an issue with the position, especially coming in new. Wanting to please the gaffer as well, because obviously it's what you want to do as well. When you're coming new into a club, you want to set your marker. You really want to, show as well that you're here to fight for everything and that you want to go through it. But yeah, I don't know. I actually take quite some encouragement from the comments, because if you look at last year, who was the first person publicly from our players to say we need new signings coming in and we need those reinforcements to get back up to the top, and putting that public pressure on was him. So I'm more than fine with him saying that. As MacAllister playing as a 6 as a whole, I'd rather see him playing the 8 as well. But he can do a lot of good things defensively, but it's not where his strength is. And I mean, I think it's quite obvious to all of us at this point that it isn't.
Yeah, it's a patchwork job at the moment, but yet a patchwork job that has us currently second in the league at the minute, barring anything spectacular from Spurs against Fulham tomorrow evening. But realistically, Paul brings up a good point here, that if we get Andre in January, that Gravenberch may be a threat to Maka in the starting 11. I don't think he is. To be perfectly honest with you, Paul, I think Gravenberch is a better suited 6 than MacAllister is, purely because of his drive. He's able to run, he's long, he's rangy, he likes getting in the way of things, just purely from a physical profile. And if he can be trained into that anticipation that the likes of Fabinho would have had to anticipate where a play is going to go, I think Gravenberch could be a fantastic 6. But I do agree with you that we do need to get an out 6, Andre preferably, hopefully in January. And that means then we can push on, because as El Hero mentions here, he doesn't think that we can win trophies or any major trophies with Mac as the 6. I disagree. I think the team is good enough as it is with him there to challenge for the title. However, I don't think we win the title. I think we challenge for it, but I do think we win major trophies with the likes of Europa and the likes of the FA Cup as well. I think we're shoe-ins for that too. Favourites, hopefully, along with some of the other big Premier League teams. But I wouldn't say we don't win major trophies with him, but that's just my own opinion on it. What do you think about Paul's comments there? He's a second comment left, and we'll get to that in a moment. I'll just put it up here as well. So Paul is basically saying, do you think Gravenberch is a threat to MacAllister at the 8, or is Gravenberch a bit more of a rotational player to possibly move between all 3 positions in the midfield?
I don't think it's either, to be fair. I think it's more, I think Klopp is getting us into a position as well where we're going to have a set of 5 or 6 midfielders where they can constantly challenge between each other. Because we always get it where obviously injuries happen throughout the season. Yes, we still got Thiago Bacic injured now, but we've got to look at what Thiago's future is going to be looking like. And as promising as Bacic was last year, obviously we have to see how he mixes in with the rest of the group as well. And yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be a threat. I think it's more a case of healthy competition that'll be going through, and I think it will just come down to the part of who's been doing their hardest in training, who has just been in the better form in the last time. I don't think anyone will be untouchable in our midfield, bar probably Szoboszlai. But even, if Szoboszlai has a drop off as well, we could see that even happen. Yeah. So it could go anywhere. It could generally. I don't think it's going to be a threat where one of them is going to be stuck on the bench the entire time. I just think it's going to be a healthy rotational competition.
Yeah, I think so as well. The way I view it is iron sharpens iron, and that's essentially it. So the more competition that you have, it raises the bar. If MacAllister knows he has a threat to his position, he's going to raise his game. If Gravenberch knows he has a sniff of a starting job, he's going to raise his game, and they'll just feed off each other that way. And realistically, we've seen with last season with Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, James Milner and Jordan Henderson in our midfield, injuries were abundant left, right and centre, and you don't know who's going to go down. We've already seen it with Andy Robertson this season, that he's gone for 10 weeks. It's next man up mentality. So if, touch wood, it doesn't happen, if the likes of MacAllister or Szoboszlai or even Gravenberch, if he does go down, at least we know there's quality backups coming off that bench. That's something we didn't have last season, is very good quality coming off the bench. So thankfully, this season, it doesn't seem to be a problem. And we actually have a problem of, well, who's going to start? We've too much quality, which I think an awful lot of these players are buying into this product that Klopp is selling, that, look, you're going to get game time. We've so many games. We have a potential, I think it's at this stage now, another 25 to 26 games between now and the end of Christmas. That's including all cup games, all league games, everything. So realistically, anything can go here. And I think everybody's going to get their feed of minutes. And Paul, I do agree with you. I think this is honestly one of the best young midfields in Europe at the moment, outside of Real Madrid. I think it's one of the best young and upcoming midfields at the moment. And the only reason I say Madrid is purely because of the likes of Bellingham that's in that midfield at the moment, because he's just nuts, and there's no other way to describe it. We can be bitter about it all we want that he didn't come here, but he's not here, and we got to get over it. That's the way it goes. And Stephen mentions a great comment here, is you earn your place.
Yeah,
that's essentially it. If you play well, you earn your minutes. If you don't, you don't. That's it, and that's the way it should be. It's a business decision, realistically.
It's the same for our front line. If Nunez, Jota is going to be coming in, or Gakpo is going to be coming in, if Diaz isn't playing well, Jota will be playing on that left wing. It's the only one who tends to get away with it, and because we don't really have a replacement for him is Mo. Yeah, and that's it.
Well, even Trent as well.
Yeah, true. Trent is another one as well. But I mean, I think now with Gomez going into right back, I think there are going to be games or periods where if Trent is really off form, we will see Gomez at right back.
Yeah. To be honest, I thought that was needed last season for the likes of Trent, because I just seen a lack of effort from Trent last season, and I was calling it game after game when he just wasn't putting in effort and he was at fault for an awful lot of goals. I purely just said, drop him. He needs a kick up the ass to see that he's not invincible. Paul, I love your optimism, but if we wanted him, we would have got him at 40 million rather than now paying 60 million for his release clause, seeing as we were release clause FC during the summer. I love the optimism. I'd love if it happened. I really would. Inacio is my Virgil van Dijk replacement. I genuinely believe that's his ceiling. Virgil van Dijk, when he was going for the Ballon d'Or, I believe that's Inacio's ceiling, and I've been raving about this player all summer. But that's just my own opinion on it. Hopefully he does come, but I wouldn't be mad with the likes of Arthur Thierry or Piero Hincapié as well. I'd be fine with them. The only issue I have with Hincapié is more so the discipline. He's a couple of red cards on him, and if you had a game like yesterday against Merseyside Derby, all it takes, like we've seen it last year with Darwin, all it takes is somebody to rile him up and him to swing a headbutt, and that's him gone for a couple of games, unfortunately. But speaking of the Everton game on Saturday, thankfully, this time the refereeing controversy was not actually for a decision that didn't go our way. It was actually for a decision that some would believe went our way. Now, I'm not one of those people, because I don't think there was even a decision there to be made. But during the game, there was a breakaway play from Everton, and Ibrahima Konate collided, to put it very extremely, with the Everton player. Willem, forgive me, I'm after forgetting who it was. Who was it that was on the run?
I don't remember either, mate. I didn't look at it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Wait, no, was it Beto? I think it was.
I think it could have been Beto. I'm not 100% sure of who it was. However, this was while Konate was on a yellow card, and earlier in the game, we seen 2 yellows handed out to the ever youthful Ashley Young, who first of all had a horrendous tackle at the halfway line that didn't need to be done, which was warranted as a yellow card in my own opinion. And then the second one with Diaz, as he was going past him, he was beat and he was going past him, and that also, in my opinion, warranted a yellow card purely from the connection of it. Now, Konate was already on a yellow card, and I'll say my piece about it because I know Willem disagrees with me on this, and he feels like that it should have been a yellow. It should have been a second yellow, but I'll play devil's advocate in this situation and argue against the point. I feel it was such light and minimal contact. Now, I've seen the replay back myself, and I see shin-on-shin contact as well. However, I don't feel it warranted the second yellow. If it was his first yellow, 100% I'd accept it. It would be fine. I'd be like, okay, it's a breakaway play. That's fine. But given the connotations of how severe an impact the second yellow would have had on it, I don't feel that tackle warranted the second yellow. Purely from a contextual point of view, in my own opinion. It's the two from Ashley Young were if you isolate them together as singular tackles, without having a second yellow on him, or a first yellow on him, both are yellow card tackles. If you isolate both of Konate's ones, the second one doesn't seem to warrant it if it didn't have the connotations of the yellow card already on it. That's just what I think. Paul obviously thinks that we got away with one. Klopp thinks the same. Willem, I think you think the same as well.
Yeah, but it's more as well. Like we've seen throughout the whole season, that they will give second yellow cards for the most minimal tackles. Like even look at our own one. Look at Jota's second tackle.
Yeah,
Jota's second tackle in itself for us didn't even warrant a yellow card, even though he had his first yellow card, but he still got given it. So if for me, it's more as a referee and as a whole. If they're going to stay consistent on the point, then okay, it also has to be like, you know, as much as we wouldn't like Konate to be sent off and we don't want him to get sent off, if you're going to be consistent about it and you're going to stick there as PG Moore and say we're working on these things and we're gonna make sure that there's a structural way of making those decisions, then you have to stick to it, and it can't be for one admissible contact. You know, there's already a booking instantly coming in, and there's another one who with the least minimal tackle might already, you know, just gets it waved off. Like, and that's just the biggest issue with it. If you look at it as a whole, I wouldn't have been upset if he wouldn't have got a second yellow card for it, because even Klopp took him off afterwards. It was playing with fire, and I think we all, like, I think a lot of us already were thinking that it's like, Ibu, you are playing with fire here. Don't make those tackles, like, and yeah. And maybe to your point as well, where, okay, he had his hand on him. I don't think it's from the fact that he pushes it. I think it's more that because their shins collide, he trips. And that's where he probably gets the foul more coming from.
Yeah.
And like, I would have preferably seen him run along a little bit and then try body him out of the way. But yeah, I'm not Konate, am I? So then at the end of the day, that's not very, very relevant to it. But yeah, I do think we got away with it yesterday. But then, and I don't want to go around this way where, oh well, so many things have gone against us that for once, we got one now going for us. That doesn't solve the major issue that we still have. That PG Mo is an absolute shambles, which is just what it comes down to. These refs, they're just doing whatever they want. Like, it's literally the same as well. So before our penalty with a tackle on Diaz, right? Let's be honest here. Anyone knows that nowadays they will give a penalty for that. But I reckon that the same way Mike Dean goes, oh no, I'm doing this to protect my mate, or the same way we always think that refs balance one tackle out where they didn't give the decision with another decision that they won't give either to kind of even up the game. I think it's a classic case of that. We didn't get that pen because they were like, look, he should have been sent off before and we didn't do it either. So we're going to keep it at that. And then with the handball, like what actually shocks me more is the fact that he nearly took a minute at the screen to look at the handball yesterday. How does it take that long to realize that someone's got their arm stuck out like this, and that it's not a handball? Like,
I think it's purely that's purely down to them being under the microscope currently at the moment, and the need to be getting some easy wins. Is the way that I look at it. That's purely VAR and the referees and PGMOL trying to get some easy wins. And then be able to parade them on the marketing and the PR team being like, oh, look, we got this one right. No, we got this one right. And this was the correct process that should have followed. It's purely that. That's the only reason that they done that. It was, and anybody I've seen people arguing that shouldn't be a yellow, and both hilariously unbiased, Rio Ferdinand on his commentary said that shouldn't be a penalty because of the intention. And I'm like, all well and good, the intention, but when his arm is literally out horizontal to his body, you can't not call that a penalty by the word of the law. It's literally, whether it's intentional or not, his arm is out there and it impeded the play. His arm was not in a natural position. That's the key point behind it. And people arguing against it.
They changed the rule for it for a reason 2 seasons ago, like to avoid that discussion about it happening and just deciding, look, once it's off from your body, it's in a natural position, end of. And that's why. And it's also to stop that discussion. And so at least if they're going to stick to that bit, then it's good to stick to that. But the problem is, will they stick to it? That's always a big question with these guys. And
it's the consistency, as we've mentioned, and myself and Willem were on this before with the Spurs game, purely because it's and more to the point of what Willem is pushing home of, while we got away with one, it doesn't fix the problem. Oh, we were owed one. That's not the thing. It's like, oh, we're owed plenty now, so we'll get all the 50-50 calls going forward. That's actually still a problem. That's still a major problem. You should call the game fair. Regardless of whether you call it shit or good, at least call it fair and have some consistency and some fucking integrity behind it. I don't think we got away with one with the Konate. Maybe it's my bias and looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, but I don't think it was a cardable offence, regardless of whether if he was on 1 or 0 yellow cards at that point, purely because he wasn't the last man back. It wasn't a clear goal scoring opportunity. It looked like there was a heavy touch taken and Van Dijk could have been there to sweep it up and clean it like he was doing all game. There was a lot of parameters that could have come in to prevent that breakaway from happening following the player getting past Konate, which is why I don't think it warranted a yellow card in that sense. But I can also understand people saying, yeah, we kind of got away with one there. And Klopp also acknowledging it after the game. Look, 2 things can be true at once, in my own opinion on it. But more to the point then of VAR itself and us being called Livarpool, with how decisions always go our way. If decisions always went our way, we'd be 2 points clear at the top of the league at the moment. Well, 1 point clear at the top of the league right now. We will be on 22 points as it is at the moment, and behind us will be both Man City and Arsenal, I believe, at the moment on 21. Spurs currently on 20.
Am I correct in thinking, by the way, that it would be 25 with this weekend's win? Because I think it was like as of the date before the weekend.
Oh, yes, it would. It'd be 25. So we'd be 4 points. We'd be 4 points clear with Spurs with a game in hand.
Yeah, we would have pretty much won all of our games and only drawn one game.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So the only one it's counting. To be honest, I'd count the Spurs game as a draw. I wouldn't give us the win in that game. That I'll be fair there to any Spurs fans in the chat.
If only the Premier League did, mate. No.
Yeah. Like, look, I think that game would have ended in a draw purely with the way it went. Like, it is what it is. But however, Spurs are about to be found out because they're about to go through the meat grinder of fixtures, whereas we have very, very soft fixtures between now and Christmas, and we'll come back and discuss that topic at Christmas and see where Spurs are then. But we digress. We're not talking about Spurs this time. We'll wait until May when we throttle them.
Yes,
at that point. Also, what's happening at the end of April, something seen as we played Everton. Divock Origi and Nottingham Forest are playing Everton, I believe, towards the end of April. If you're a gambling person, and we don't endorse it, but sure, look, put the wife and kids on Divock Origi putting Everton down. It's written in the stars. That's
if you don't feel safe, put your relatives' wives and kids on there just to make sure it's not your own.
Exactly, just so you don't lose. Just so you don't have to pack up the missus and send her off, or do we don't know what you're after. Whatever you're into, we don't judge here on this on LFC Transfer Room. But a point that I wanted to make is that even last season, without the correct decisions being made and corrected by VAR, meaning that wrong decisions were made against us, but VAR corrected them and made them the right decisions. Liverpool were, I believe it was it, we would have been in 10th or in the bottom half of the table if not for VAR giving us the correct decisions. So it wasn't so much that VAR was helping us, it was more the referees themselves were so inept they were hindering us. So this connotation of Liverpool live VAR pool, I think is just a load of nonsense. Like, how can you, when there's empirical evidence there to show that referees are clearly biased towards us in a way that maybe not intentionally, but you could also say intentionally too. And so what we have here is just it's I think it's a little bit of a farcical topic to be discussing. What do you think, Willem? And just as you're about to discuss that, we have Dan joining us that I'm going to throw in here now. Hey Dan, how's things?
All right. Oh,
nope. Dan's gone. Well, Dan was there, but Dan has now left us. Yeah, that's no problem. Anyways, Willem, please do let me know your opinion on VAR pool.
I don't know. I don't really care about it at the end of the day. Like, as in, I think it counts for all teams at the end of it. I mean, we all love to talk about how Man United were supported by Howard Webb in their time over there, but I don't find it fair to constantly look at a team and then be like, oh, well, if you look at the refereeing decisions they got around that time, or if they got, it's football, mate. Not like at the end of the day, it's more, you know, it sometimes goes your way, it sometimes doesn't. Next week or the week after, Arsenal will have probably gotten two decisions in a row where people are like, oh, well, VAR didn't intervene there and they probably didn't get it. What are we going to say, Arsenal then, or are we just going to change it? Like, it's just as well a lot of rival fans who are just trying to troll as well and just trying to make the most out of it to rattle us. So yeah, just don't pay much attention. Just like Mikel Antonio did with West Ham a couple of weeks ago. Just don't pay attention to it. Just let them talk, and then it'll be fine as long as we do our thing.
Yeah, that's my own opinion on it as well. Dan, thank you for joining us. A little bit late on, but look, we welcome the company. The question I'll give you the same question that I gave to Willem. There is purely just there's a narrative in the media, both social and news wise, of live VAR pool, where we get beneficial treatment from VAR. But the point that myself and Willem were making is purely that last season we would have finished in the bottom half of the table if not for VAR giving us the correct decisions. And this season we would currently be on 25 points, 4 points clear of the nearest team, which will be City and Arsenal, and 5 points clear of Spurs, who would have a game in hand. Now, that's Willem giving us the win against Spurs. I was being nice and gave us the draw. So I would have assumed us on 23 points for that. So we still would have been clear of everybody by at least 2 points. Do you think it's a media narrative, or is it something similar to what Willem mentions and it's just rival fans trolling us and thinking that, oh, we're a big club, we get all the decisions, when there's such empirical evidence there that shows that it's not actually true?
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on, boys, as well. Sorry about the little messing that went on there.
Right.
Don't worry, mate.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this idea of us sort of always kind of things going for us, or we seem to get the rub of the green constantly. It's a long-term narrative that's come from not just within football results, but outside of football. That we seem to be the one who moans about things, but what we do moan about is actually important. We moan about things like, for example, players being played for too often. The free substitutes, there's now 5. You know, Jurgen Klopp is constantly getting battered and battered and battered and saying, oh, here they are moaning again, and oh, they're getting what they want. Jurgen Klopp gets what he wants again. And now they're just using that against us because we got a decision that could have been a yellow card. I suppose that Konate is the situation that people are making the most comments towards. And could it have been a yellow? Yeah, it could have been a yellow, of course it could. But the fact is, and this is what I've used so far on Twitter, and just as an example of it, is Ashley Young should have been sent off before he was actually sent off. By the letter of the law, he kicked the ball away. So there's the second yellow card. Off you go. But instead, the referee gave him the chance. You know, he understood the passion of the game. He understood what was going on. Players are human. And I said this about Trent when he was at Newcastle. He kicked the ball away. You can kick it away, threw it back on the pitch. It was nothing, really. It was next to nothing. But the referee did it to the line and said, right, you have a yellow card. Well, that's harsh. That shows that we get harshly punished in that situation. But going back to it, I don't think so. I think we just need to just ignore it. It's opposition fans seeing an opportunity to have a dig at us and say, well, here they are again, getting something going for them, when ultimately, if VAR is changing the decision, VAR is changing it because the decision on the field was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. We only get what you deserve.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And very much similar to Willem mentioned earlier in the stream before you joined us, is that like he believes that the Konate incident could have been a yellow card. It could have been. I completely agree with him. But I also think that given the context of the situation, that it was a little bit of a heavy touch. Van Dijk was still there. It was shin-on-shin contact, very light contact. The fact that, as you mentioned, by the letter of the law, Ashley Young should have been sent off earlier in the game. You need the human context and human perception of it. You can't be a robot and call it by the letter of the law constantly. You need to know the context of the game that's at hand. You need to know this is a Merseyside derby. It's going to be heated. It is what it is. Let the play run a little bit. And if you need to start reining it in, then start reining it in. But I, genuinely speaking, I feel like the referee did well. The bar is on the floor, but he did well. In comparison on Saturday. The only as Willem, you clearly don't agree with me, but
I think they're all shit, so it doesn't really matter at the end.
Yeah,
of
but
the
like
day.
when the bar is on the floor, any decision that they get that's right is an improvement, in my own opinion.
To be fair, it's really gotten now this bad at this point that looking back at it, Mark Clattenburg looks like an amazing referee now. When you look back at it, and he was a clown as well. Like, this is how bad it's actually gotten now to this point, where every week, it doesn't matter which Muppet it is, someone's doing something which is infuriating either us or the rival fans or someone else, and there's just no consistency with it.
You see, what I wondered was because I also had the 2-week international break and they had all the controversy, before that. They had no opportunity to fix it for the week, game week number 8. So when we played Brighton, they weren't capable of kind of getting together as PGMOL and all of the referees and the VARs to kind of go, we need a reset here. We need to kind of get an idea to apply some consistency to refereeing decisions, because what you have is you've got fans from other teams comparing our handball, which, by the way, was the most blatant handball that there could be. Nobody could disagree with it, but you do have opposition fans disagreeing with it because they point to a handball. Say, for example, Tottenham, when Man United played Tottenham and there was a handball situation, which I said, that's a handball, that's a penalty, but it wasn't given. And then the fact is where do you want us to start? Do you want us to start making the right decisions or carry on making the wrong decisions? Just because your decision was wrong doesn't mean that we should also get a wrong decision. We need to move forward and start getting these mistakes corrected so that we can at least get a less. I don't want to be talking about the referee, do we? No, nobody does.
Yeah.
Like, we want to be talking about the football. We want to be talking about the best league in the world. And here we are talking about the worst referees that we could get. I'd quite happily go out there and transfer in all the best referees, no matter what league they're in, and bring them here. It doesn't matter what nationality the referee is to me, as long as they're the best at the job. That's all that matters.
No, I agree with you. Jimmy is I'm not sure what you mean by this. I personally don't think we got away with one, purely because of the context of the contact that was made by Konate on it. Now, both Willem and Dan think it should have been a yellow card. I can completely understand where they're coming from and where they say it should have been a yellow card. By the letter of the law, it could have been a yellow card. But again, as Dan mentioned, by the letter of the law, Ashley Young shouldn't have been on the pitch to get his second yellow card. He should have already been gone. So it really falls down to, and Paul Lindo mentioned it earlier in the comments, that I can't remember what he said. What was it that he said? It said something. It's something along the lines of, I'll see if I can find it, that we got it, that the second yellow shouldn't influence it, or the first yellow shouldn't influence it, and that we were owed one is, and so like, but both myself and Willem before you joined, Dan, mentioned that owing one isn't going to fix this. It's not, you gave us a bad one last week, we'll give you one this week. It needs to be consistent across the board. And before VAR was in, there was controversy around the likes of United getting preferential treatment, and we all thought it was true. And lo and behold, who comes out following retirement and following when Fergie was there and saying, yeah, they got preferential treatment because of Sir Alex Ferguson. So there's no smoke without fire. If we think there's something up, and collectively as a fan base, not just Liverpool fans, but the football fan base itself think that there's something up, there more than likely is, which is why everybody called Man City cheaters for years, and now all of a sudden they have 115 charges against them. We're not stupid. Like, that's the way that I look at it. But look, we've done enough talking about the referees, in my own opinion. We've done enough talking about decisions one way or the other. I think, as Dan mentioned, we should discuss the football and the great football that we played in the second half when Darwin Nunez came on and him and Mo Salah linked up again, as we've seen in the preseason, and we all thought that this was going to be great. And a little bit of a weird stat for everybody: every one of Darwin Nunez's assists this season has been to Mo Salah. I think their connection is absolutely dynamite, and I think that that should be our locked-in front two until his form dips, because at the moment Darwin Nunez is averaging a goal or nearly 1.5 goals or assists per 90. The next closest person is Callum Wilson at 1.19 or 1.2, and Salah's just behind him at 1.19. Erling Haaland is only on 1.11, I believe, per 90. So Darwin Nunez at the moment is currently averaging, every 3 games is averaging a goal or an assist more than Erling Haaland. So you can take all of your golden boots and you can shove them, in my own opinion. I think Darwin Nunez is playing fantastically. I'll start with yourself, Dan, on this one, then I'll go to Willem. Give me a couple of your thoughts on how you felt this first half went and how you felt the second half went with our performance, with both Mo Salah kind of not being at the races really, first of all, but then all of a sudden coming alive the second Nunez comes on.
Yeah, I mean, Mo Salah, I mean, that's one word for it not being in the races. I thought he was terrible. Like, genuinely, like, he looked like a player who'd been space jammed. Like, he didn't have a first touch. He was making Myelenko look like Maldini. Like, I've never seen him come up against him, and he just wasn't for taking him on. He was losing the ball. His dribbles weren't going into places. He was going down blind alleys. It was just a really poor game from Salah. Yeah. But I believe only Mo Salah is capable of scoring 2 goals and being the worst player on the pitch, at least from the Liverpool situation. And that's great. I'm cool with that. He can be as terrible as he wants if he scores 2 goals. But, you know, we could say that's what's going on off the pitch. But, yeah, going from the first half, it was exactly what you expected. It was a bit cagey. It was a 12:30 after an international kickoff. Everyone looked a bit lethargic. even from both teams, everyone looked pretty tired. And we weren't at our best, but at no point did I panic. There wasn't a point where I've watched games when we're not scoring and we're not getting into the situations and I'm going, we could be playing till tomorrow and we're not going to score here. But I just always believe that the opportunity is going to come. We're going to keep applying the pressure. We're going to keep going and we'll get to where we want to. So first half, absolutely fine. We started in the last 10 minutes just to really start turning the screw and you could see that we were getting there. And then going into the second half, Nunez was a massive change. He really was. He brings so many other players into the game, even though he may not be on the ball. Like it's hard to kind of explain that he does a lot without the ball. He does a lot of things that
he garners a lot of attention because the centre backs need to watch him because he can just he can turn on a dime and he's gone, as was proof with the second goal.
Absolutely. He makes these runs, he's going in between those channels. He's going into places where, those three centre-backs that they had for Everton, which were really solid for them. Jared Bramthwaite was unbelievable. And I think he's an absolutely top player. We should be absolutely looking at him if they ever did business, which they won't. But that's one side of it. But what he does is he makes those moves and it brings that space. It allows players like Diaz, to have more space. Jota was making some good runs and it comes from there. Obviously, winning the penalty, Salah scores a penalty with aplomb. He's really seemed to found a way of getting his penalties back. I used to be worried about when he stepped up for a penalty because, they were shocking. Some of them were, even the ones he scored, some of them weren't very good at all. And you go, I'll take it. It's in. Yeah. And then obviously going up for the final goal, which was kind of the next big moment, Liverpool had kind of turned off the gas and said, that's fine, we've got our goal. You're not going to score against us. Invite the pressure on. And they did. And when we invited the pressure, the opportunity came to us, and I have to give all the credit to, and MacAllister won't get it, that pass that he played just gets better and better each time that I see it. Like he's under so much pressure from their attackers. He is only a short fella like myself, and somehow he's got this big massive grok on top of him and he's capable of playing this perfectly weighted pass into Nunez. Nunez has taken that ball, and the change that's come about him is that he, in the past, he would have just been tunnel vision. I'm going at that goal, and it could have ended up in Rosette, and he'd have been embarrassed. Instead, this time he's gone, that's fine. There's my mate Salah. I'm going to play a perfectly weighted ball, bottom corner, game finished. Yeah, he was fantastic with him. And the two of them, every game, should start that match. Jota and Diaz, you can rotate, but you two, you stay where you are. Salah and Nunez for every match.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's something that I put into the chat as well that we had, our little group chat, that last season's Darwin Nunez would power straight through and try and get past four people and bang it into the bottom corner. This season's Darwin Nunez seems to have the composure, and he's gained so much composure on the ball. He would have, and he was able to, and he wasn't really able to dribble with it. What we said at the start of the season was, if this kid can just be delivered balls in where he doesn't have to think, he'll score bundles. But now he's been given time to think, and he's actually doing well with it. He's almost making us he's almost doing the converse of what we wished would happen, but he's still doing really well. As it stands at the moment in the Premier League, he's 3 goals and 3 assists through game week 10, which, let's be perfectly honest here, if he averages that now every 10 game weeks in the Premier League for the rest of the season, that's going to be it's going to be about 20 goal contributions in a season, in a second season, and that with half of them being assists and half of them being goals, that's a fantastic way to go for a striker, especially a 9. But to your point with MacAllister, what I thought, and I don't think anybody mentions, Szoboszlai was keeping pace with him, but then stopped because he's seen Salah to the right and didn't want to get in the way. It's the little things like that. It's just there's telepathic communication between all of our guys, and it's beautiful to watch. Just as he was reaching the keeper's box, just went back a gear and just let the ball come over. And Willem, I think it was myself and yourself that discussed this as well a while ago, that if we unlock Darwin Nunez, he could go on and have 20 to 30 goal contributions in the season, and he seems to be on pace for it so far. And with this run of games coming up as well, with the likes of Luton and Nottingham Forest that we're playing, that just leak goals up the middle and out to the right, I think both Salah and Nunez are a walking goal and an assist each. What do you think about that?
I mean, I do definitely agree. Coming back to your stats point as well about him having 3 goals and 3 assists in 10 games. He came off the bench for about the first 4 games as well. So it's the amount of minutes he's doing it in as well. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm just super chuffed. He's doing super well about it. Yeah, I do think, especially this run of games coming in as well with Forest and Luton, I think they could really start to get their gears going as well, of just consistently getting on the score sheet, on the assist table. I mean, I think I said it a couple of days ago on the stream already. The more they play together as well, the more, because at the end of the day, I do think our starting front three will be Diaz, Nunez, Salah. It'll come to the crunch time of the season where you really have to go through. The more time they play together, the more chemistry they're going to build up, and the more they're going to be playing between each other. And I mean, obviously, not everything is going to be just like Mane, Firmino, and Salah that we had a couple of years, but it doesn't have to be. We need a new revamp and a new generation of this coming in. And so far, it looks promising as hell. And that's all I can really say for it. I'm just very excited for what they can bring us throughout the whole season.
Well, to your point of the Mane, Firmino, and Salah combination, Nunez has already assisted Salah more times than Sadio Mane has. Isn't that a mad stat? Nunez has already assisted Mo Salah more times than Sadio Mane has.
You feed in that narrative that he doesn't like him. That's what it's all about. He never got on with each other. We've proven it. That's it. It's the facts are out there now.
Winning fixes everything, and they were the best of friends when they were winning. That's the way that I look at it.
Secret Colombia-Uruguay rivalry we never knew about in the meantime. That's why he's constantly passing it on to the right.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. He's like, oh no, he's Colombian. I'm not going near him. It could be that. But look, to be honest with you, the way that I look at it is that front three is deadly. And Luis Diaz, I don't think got enough credit for his game yet on Saturday. He was instrumental in absolutely everything. And on the front line, he caused both yellow cards on Ashley Young. He caused he just caused havoc. He caused the penalty. He done everything that doesn't show up in a stats sheet. And that's something that can be taken away from it. And anybody that watches football and appreciates football could see the work that he was doing. Yeah. And that's fantastic to see that your front three is working that hard. It's just beautiful to watch. But the way one person that actually, and before I get on to it, I just want to make sure that I share this with everybody, just to make sure everybody that you like and subscribe. If you haven't done so already, please do so. It is free, and you can always change your mind later if you don't like us, but I'm sure you will like us, so it'll be fine. If you have done that, make sure you have the bell notification on for all of our future videos and streams. We're on every day from 7:30 in the evening, UK time. If not, it'll be a little bit later this week because we have the Toulouse game. So we'll be on a little bit later after that for our post-match stream. Other than that, we will have a stream every day. And we'll also have a post-match stream this weekend as well, following our game this weekend against Nottingham Forest. So please do make sure you like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 10K subscriptions at the moment. We're just over 9,750 as it is at the moment. So we'll try and hit that before we hit the next transfer window. Thank you so much. And somebody that actually really did impress me in this game, and it's been mentioned a lot in the chat here, and I wonder, would anybody be against the signing of that monster of a centre-back, Dan, that you mentioned, Jared Braithwaite? I think, imagine him and Kwanzaa. Him and Kwanzaa as our two centre-backs for the future. He's a young guy. And as Paul mentions here, 15 grand a week. If Everton do go down, and please let everybody in the chat know as well, if Everton do go down, would you be accepting of signing an Evertonian to the team?
Absolutely. The thing is, it's been done before. Us and Man United, Liverpool and Man United don't do business. That's a rare side of things. It's only a modern phenomenon that between Liverpool and Everton, the players haven't actually gone between each other. It's a more modern phenomenon that's happened. Jared Braithwaite was fantastic. Like, as much as I'm not in it, I don't like Everton. I don't like Everton players. I don't like a lot of what they are as a fan base. There's a lot of things I don't like about them. But what I have to say is that kid was fantastic against us. He was winning so many headers. There was times where Kostas was delivering a great ball, and he did, and I have to give him that. but for some reason it was him. It was Jared Brandtwaite's head that was magnetised, and he was the one who was knocking that ball away.
When you're 6'5", like.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big bonus. Plus, he's an English lad. He's also going to come under the homegrown record, which has been fantastic, which we need at the moment, because we are skirting on a numerous occasions of being very close to that limit, and we need a left-sided centre back. I think that's where we're going, and it would fix one or two problems. It may not be Everton going down that could force them to make a sale, though. It's their financial situation that they're in now. That January could mean that they may have to make a sale. May not be him, but it may be somebody else in that team. Onana, exactly. He's another fantastic asset that could well be on his way out the door if they have to sell.
Yeah, Willem, I think it would be an absolutely monumental deal, although people might not think so outside of the Merseyside sphere, so to speak. But Brandtwaite, I think, could be a fantastic centre back. Like, for a kid that young to be that big, and I'll be perfectly honest, he frustrated me on Saturday. If not for him, I think that game could have ended 4 or 5-0. Genuinely, with his defending of set pieces and crosses, which is something that's been a little bit of a niggle for us. Do you think that a signing of... How do you think he'd be welcomed, first of all?
I mean, I preferably wouldn't sign him. I'm still at the camp of I don't want an Evertonian or a Man United player in our squad. It's just not for me. That's just at the end of it. And I do think on the homegrown part, the one thing that we do keep forgetting is a lot of our young players are slowly turning into that age as well, where they do end up taking up or at least giving us another non-homegrown spot because they end up becoming homegrown. I think it will be Elliot at the end of this year that will be not counted as under 21 anymore, and that it'll be counted as a fully homegrown slot. And I mean, yeah, okay, he was decent in the derby, but I don't know if he was really that good. I don't think Everton would be near a relegation zone, if you know what I mean. Like, I think he would be a decent one time if you're trying to build up a team back to the top, but to really challenge for the league and really try and go for it, I'd rather go for some of the other options. But I'd rather go for a Hinkapie or an Inacio or one of the other guys, knowing that
I'll pose this to you. So, Willem, would you sign him very much in a similar facet to Kwanzaa, in that he's a developmental piece that could grow into a starting role? Like, Kwanzaa isn't going to win us the league. Van Dijk and Konate are going to win us the league. However, Van Dijk and Konate aren't going to be here forever, and Konate has his injury concerns. As we mentioned earlier in the stream before Dan joined us, we do have a little bit of a drop-off and we need quality everywhere, as iron sharpens iron. So if Konate gets beaten out of a starting position by either Kwanzaa or Brandtwaite, if he comes in, if we were to sign him, which I think would be a great signing, if Konate isn't good enough to beat either one of those two guys out of a starting position, well, then he's not good enough, in my own opinion. Now, that's a hypothetical situation, completely hypothetical. I'm playing devil's advocate here. But would you be against signing him in a developmental piece as a prospect and just letting him grow, similar to how we've brought Kwanzaa up through the academy? I get it, but I think it could be a very good, like, if Everton are forced to sell from relegation or from need of financial aid, and we throw 15-20 million at them, maybe a bit more, I'm just throwing out a figure here. If we throw anything like that at them and we get them, is it really, like, considering the price of centre backs on the market at the moment, would it really be a bad idea, considering his ceiling could be considered so high?
I mean, my response to it would more be, is he really that good, or is he a player who loves turning up against us? Because we've had also quite a couple of them where it's just random players from teams who will not perform throughout the season, will have an absolute belter against us during the game when they play with us. So I think it's also more of a case of, is he genuinely good enough throughout the season, and is there enough to see in there that he would be good to take on as a prospect throughout a whole season, that you would take it? And in my opinion, I wouldn't. And that's just more. And then adding on to it that he's an Evertonian, and that's the rest of it, then yeah, it's just, what if he's one of them? Like, imagine it's like one of us, right? We're diehard Liverpool fan. What if he's coming in as a diehard Evertonian and he's going, I could really screw some shit up here, and then really, like, just try and stir it the other way. I doubt it will happen. You have to stay professional. If not, you're not going to get paid out, and you're going to be in a shitload of trouble. But I still wouldn't do it. I do think there are other prospects to go for, and I just don't know if he's genuinely that good or if he just had a great game against us.
Yeah, I get it. I do agree with you that it's all in well having one flash in the pan, but you need to sustain it. But if the hypothetical is that he does sustain this level of form, even if not this level of form that he's shown at the weekend, because then he'd end up helping keep Everton up. But if he keeps that level of form throughout the season and impresses and could be seen as a number, I suppose we can revisit the question come May time and when the transfer window reopens next summer. I agree with you. I think it's a little bit early days yet. However, we thought it was early days on Kwanzaa too, and he came in and just was fantastic from the get-go. We thought he was a little bit too young, maybe a little bit undersized, not height-wise, but more weight-wise. But he seems to be playing very, very well at the moment. So I think it's a question that needs to be sort of pinned for the moment and maybe asked again come April, end of May time, where we've seen a bigger portfolio, because obviously we had this question with Levi Colwill during the summer, who played a grand total of 14 games or 13 games worth of minutes in the Premier League. And Chelsea were looking for £80 million for him, and that's not a justifiable price for the body of work that was portrayed. I completely agree with you on that, but I do think it could be one to watch, considering, as you said, if Everton do need to sell, or if they get relegated and they do need to sell people on. But yeah, I completely agree. It's a funny one. It's kind of like Michael Owen going to the Judas himself going to United, but we won't mention that. Or Wayne Rooney going from Everton to Man United as well, considering the ties between the city. But look, the Evertonians have gone back over the river. They're over in Birkenhead at the moment, so we leave them to their devices, and we won't stir them up anymore. But we'll wave at them from the Championship. That's all I'd say. But I don't want them to get relegated. I like the free 6 points. That's the way I look at it.
It'd be funny though, wouldn't it?
I mean, it'd be funny if Chelsea got relegated.
It would, like one of them where it's like they go down for a year, and then we go a year without it, and then we're like, oh, it's kind of boring without a derby, and then we get them back up, and then it's just, it's fine, and they can stop boasting about how they're still not one of the teams to be relegated from the first division of football, and then can take that away from them as well.
I mean, I think if they go down, they don't come back up because they'd lose so many players.
They never come.
I mean, yeah, that is the one problem. But I mean, again, it's one of them. Yeah, I do understand it from the point of view that the Merseyside derby is a lot of fun throughout throughout. So I look forward both to home and away games. They're great to have throughout it, and they are just as well to wind up your major Evertonians. It's like it's never like we're United fans where you can get really, really angry. It's more with Evertonian. It's more like it's that brotherly go screw yourself. It's just one of them just poking each other around with fun. And yeah, I do think it would be the case if they do get relegated, then they won't be coming out. But yeah, I don't know. It would be funny at the same time if they do get relegated. I'm not going
to. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think Chelsea have more of a penchant to get relegated than Everton. And you can call me on that if you want, but I think Chelsea are fucking imploding. And the fact that they blew a 2-0 lead to Arsenal that were not at the races at all, and that game should have been more, is very telling to me. It's just like not Levi Colwill. Reece James was on the pitch 5 seconds and they equalised. Like it's it's that level of I think Chelsea are going to implode, but that's a topic for the end of the season. I also have United ready to implode as well, because I think Erik ten Hag is going to be the first coach fired. Anybody that picked the Wolves coach to be fired first at the start of the season doesn't count, because we all knew that was going to happen. But I think Erik ten Hag is gone first. I think Pochettino could be not long in the tooth after him, because neither of them are in any way, shape, or form running a tight ship at the moment. And I think dressing rooms may end up turning if results don't keep going the way they're going. But that's a topic for another day. We're here as a Liverpool streaming platform, not a let's shit on it. Well, I guess we kind of are as a let's shit on everybody else platform as well. But I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. From myself, from Willem, from Dan, thank you so much for joining us. A little bit late, but look, you're more than welcome to always join us. Appreciate having you on. Your first stream as well with myself, so pleasure to meet you as well. 2-0 win at the weekend. You win pretty, you win ugly. 3 points is 3 points. We move on now to Toulouse on Thursday night and hopefully get even closer to the group stages of, or the end of the group stages of the Europa League and on to Dublin, where I will very much be happily sat in a pub in Dublin waiting for that game. I can't wait. It's going to be unbelievable. I have the hotel booked. I can't wait. Thank you guys so much for joining us. From myself, from Willem, from Dan, up the Reds. You'll never walk alone, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.